Good morning, good day, and good evening. I'm as always your host, Brody Robertson. Your camera is constantly going in and out of focus, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Anyway, most people have probably heard of Gimp, but most people are also aware that getting Gimp 3 out has taken quite a long time. So today we have someone very heavily involved in the project who, is here to talk about why it's taken so long, what is coming with the new version, and basically just get us up to speed on the project. How about you introduce yourself?
So, hello, my name is Jehan, and so I'm one of the two maintainers of Gimp.
Mhm.
And yeah, basically that's it. I've gotten involved in Gimp by working with an artist who, first time we tried Gimp. I mean, I don't know if it was exactly the first time or one of the first times, like Gimp will just crash on like unplugging tablets, this kind of stuff. So yeah, because it was TTK2 doesn't have any hot plug, and it was crashing, and it still doesn't have hot plug, but now it doesn't crash because that's one of the fixes I did back then.
Mhm.
And yeah, so like, and at some point we started to do like a animation film project, and that's how we got even more involved, and the more we went, yeah, the more I hacked on Gimp.
So how long
That's
have you been involved in the project?
I started, my first patch was 2012,
Okay,
so
so quite a while now.
yeah. So
So,
this is first patch, yeah.
mm, mm,
No,
mm.
it's just the first patch is like most developers' first patch. It was like I think it was like an icon change. Like I think it was on the playback animation playback small plugin,
Mm, mm,
which is kind of crappy, but that's only what you had.
mm.
And I wanted, like, when you click play, it changed, I think, to pause icon or back to play icon when you pause, and like, well, that's
Mhm.
so very small patch, but then it was just a start.
Right. So, obviously, the project has changed quite a bit over these years. Before we get to Gimp 3, which is obviously big toolkit change, lots of really cool changes coming in, just in the time that you've been involved in, was it already Gimp 2 when you got involved, or had not swapped over to that yet?
Yeah, I think Gimp 2 has been like, I think they got pretty quickly at Gimp 2. I cannot tell you exactly what date, but it was long because when I started, actually, Gimp 8 was just released a few months before
Mm-hmm.
Gimp 8.0. So because it was 2012, Gimp 8. So, and I can tell you since when Gimp 2 started, but I think many years before this. So,
Oh, okay. No, I just had a look at their release list. 2004 was Gimp 2. Wow. It has been quite a while, hasn't it?
yeah.
So,
But
oh,
yeah, just like, because I know there have been like a bunch of articles, like they took like 20 years or even 30 years from zero to three and everything. But actually, a lot have happened because Gimp 2, they were like actually the minor point version. Between Gimp 2.6 and 2.8 was, there were a lot of big changes, and 2.8 and 2.10 also. So it's, and like, and since 2.10 we had like a policy change. Also, like, we accepted the features in micropoint releases. So like, if every 2.10 version, like 2.10.2, 2.10.4 and everything, they all had like very fancy new features. So it's yeah, it's not like it actually like took 10 years and to nothing happened in between.
right,
It's
right.
like a lot of stuff happened.
Right, whilst there hasn't been a toolkit rewrite, there's been a lot of additional features added. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, even though the toolkit rewrite has been something that's kind of needed to happen for a while.
Yeah, so basically the toolkit rewrite had to happen, but it's also like actually it kind of depending on how you see it, it was kind of already half there, even like I don't know, but like many years ago, because it was we already had a Gimp 3 build in a branch. I mean, a Gimp 3, a build with GTK3.
Right, right.
So simply there were a lot of deprecated functions, so the build was like full of warnings and everything because we're using deprecated functions, and well, there were various issues, and so yeah, we wanted to clean code, and also like there's a second stuff which is like we cannot say like, oh, we just focus on GTK3 and nothing happened, because then everybody who wants to implement fancy cool features, they get depressed or whatever. Like, oh, what am I doing? I just do crappy toolkit code. I mean, toolkit pod is like, yeah, it's very boring stuff. Like it's not. It's sometimes nearly depressing, because it's like you are working for possibly months, and so that at the end you hope to get the same state as you were before, basically.
Right. Yeah, the idea is you're porting it and trying not to regress features, which I'm sure someone enjoys doing, but it's not, working on exciting new features like, now we have non-destructive editing, there's the whole space invasion stuff that's been done, you've got all of these gaggle filters. Like, that's the exciting stuff that really, I can see why people would enjoy doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's actually, I think this last few years I was one doing most of the boring GTK port, because other new contributors, they usually don't come and try to do this, because and it's normal. Like, and it's like kind of me as a maintainer. Well, we have at some point to go some stuff go forward. So like the last big stuff I think which happened was the whole GTK action, which is basically the shortcuts and everything, and all what we call actions. It's all like stuff or actions which can be mapped to a shortcut, basically. So, and they were like GTKs had this concept GTK actions, but they moved it to well, no, they deleted it, but there was a concept of G action after this, which was in glib library, and but when they did this, like basically a lot of features disappeared, because since GTK was UI based, but glib is just it's not. It's more low-level library. So like basically like I don't remember, but like probably names, even actions could not have like, I mean, or description. I don't remember, but like a lot of stuff disappeared. So basically, I had to re-implement a Gimp action, basically over G action, and that's kind of stuff, and like redo all like also how menus were handled and everything, and that's one of the annoying stuff for GTK4, because it looks like they are going more and more in this direction of like saying that menus are basically not interesting, which kind of we disagree. So when I look at the GTK3 to GTK4 port tutorial stuff, I'm thinking, okay, that looks. I've not tried yet, but like that looks like a lot of the stuff which I spent months porting. I will have to redo them again, because again broke stuff in the whole. Apparently, I don't know. I cannot say that for sure, but like, because there are a lot of stuff about menus disappearing and everything in the tutorial. So, or replaced by other stuff, and I'm not sure if it will be good for us. We will see. So, yeah.
I definitely do want to talk more about the GTK4 stuff afterwards, but just so people have an understanding of sort of the kind of stuff that's changed. I mean, it might be hard to think of because it has been so long, but what's something people might recognize that works now, but maybe just back when you were getting involved just wasn't there? How much has the project really changed over this time?
Sorry, it just there was a bit where it kind
Oh,
of
sorry.
froze.
I was asking about over the time you've been involved in the project, what's something that maybe people will recognize that has changed over that period? What's some... I know it's been a while since you've been involved in a long time, but yeah, how much has the project really changed over these years?
Well, technically or non-technically? You mean
Um,
like I mean like
whatever comes to mind. Something that I
okay,
think that maybe people don't know would be interesting to talk about.
okay. Well, because that's a non-technically part. That's something I said I mentioned before. For instance, the fact that we have a lot more release with features now.
Mm-mm.
For me, that was something very important. That actually I started push it. I don't remember, but like just 1 or 2 years after I started contributing, which is like there were already this like huge span of time where people would have just bug fixes releases, but like for years, and so we started with 210 because we knew when 210 was released that it would again be quite some time before Gimp 3 will be released.
So that was in
So
2018.
yeah, exactly. So then we said, okay, that's something we started to be pushed before, but then we said like, now this has at least now at micro point releases, we will not do only bug fixes, but also features. And I think that's a huge change because also like even for how Gimp was perceived, because even though there is a lot of development, people don't see it as well. I mean, I still read this kind of stuff right now, but I think before it was even more like Gimp development was dead. Basically,
Right.
everybody, even though a lot of was happening, but people will, if they only have bug fixes, they think that nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of stuff.
And I guess if a lot of work is being done in that, 2.99 branch, that development branch, it's not things that people are generally going to be seeing in the packages that are available on their distro. So even though a lot of work is being done to get Gimp 3 ready, it can seem like kind of nothing's really happened for a while, especially when the latest, there might be a long period of time between different point releases that are available for the 2.10 branch.
Okay, sorry, there was no freeze, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry, it's my
Sorry.
English. I don't think I
No,
understood
sorry,
well.
sorry. I was saying that as you're doing a lot of work in the development branch for 3, it might seem like nothing's happening because most of the work is in that location. But with the 2.10, even though things might be happening, there's a long time between those point releases. So it can seem to users when they just get a package on their distro that kind of nothing is happening.
Oh, but actually, 2010 was like there were just like maybe 3 months between releases.
Mm.
Like in the last maybe 2 years, there were more. The span was longer, and maybe
Right.
even 6 or maybe more than 6 months, because like the last few years, like we really kind of focused more and more on Game 3 and got less features and everything. Backported less features. I mean, but for the first maybe 4 years or something, like there were a lot of 210 releases actually, where there were really a lot of development side by side, and basically everything which we could easily backport to the version 2 release, version 2 series. We did basically. Now even if it's not, if even if it's very easy, we kind of don't care too much about the 2 series, but for many years actually, they were really they were really side by side development, quite active on both sides. So yeah, and that was important because we saw that people at least will like see that something was happening, and even for developers, because it's not also it's not only for people, but like for developers, they give a patch and some very nice features, and like nothing, nobody sees it for like many years.
Right.
That's also like something which for like maybe doesn't encourage some of the developers to stay around. And that's also something which I've worked a lot on, like trying to be very like to make developer wants to stay around. And so like for me, one of the very big thing is like to have a nice community and everything. Actually, one of my like stuff which I like to say is like Gimp is not just free software; it's community free software. So that's something I really like, because for me it's not only free software, it's also like a community software, and this is very important. It's people doing stuff together because they like it, and like, and enjoying it, and like I heard someone say like something is kind of like your friendly neighborhood, and since then I reused this sentence again a few times. It's kind of like a friendly international neighborhood. So that's also something which I worked a lot to make it for Gimp. Make it happen, man. Like So
I think that's an interesting direction to go down. It might be hard to guess an exact number, but how many people do you think are actively working on Gimp right now?
It depends how you count them, but
Sure.
I mean, they're like I would say like they're like a handful. Like wait, I can do three, maybe five, 6 people who are like really doing a lot of stuff, like most of the stuff. And like probably 20 people who are there like regularly, but not maybe they won't be there for a few months and then they come back, or but they're still regular contributors. But like and when they come, they just do one patch and they drop one patch and like up, and they go back, and so yeah, it's how you count them. So yeah, it really depends. Like
If
so,
somebody
and
was,
like,
oh, go on, sorry.
no, just, and so yeah, and then there is like some kind of tail of people just dropping one patch and never coming back.
Right.
So yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if somebody was interested in Gimp, they like the project and they want to go and do their first patch, or they want to get involved in the project and help out in some way, what would be the best way they could go ahead and do so? Is there maybe some discussion place they can go to start meeting people and learn what they can work on, or how would you direct people?
Well, if there is one discussion place, it's the tracker, GitLab, or GitLab tracker. And even there, we have a few repositories. There's a main one for code, but like now we have one for UX discussions, because so that we thought it was nicer if they were not like just lost inside bug fixes and everything. It was nicer for them to have like a dedicated place to discussing about UX. And I think in the end, I mean, at least that's how I work, and that's how I started contributing to Gimp, but also like a whole bunch of software is like more like, usually I think when you have a problem with a software, you just grab the code and just try to fix it, and then you throw a patch, and then you see how people react, and then you try to discuss from there. I mean, I at least as a developer, I think that's the most rewarding stuff, because actually all the patch I've done in my life, it was like basically for me. So well, not anymore with Gimp because I'm the maintainer, so I do also a lot of stuff not for me. But at least when I start, like I have a bug or I need a feature or something like, and then like I just fix it and I give a patch, and like after this discussion may come, and after you have to be patient anyway. As anyone, I had patches which were never integrated in projects, and sometimes not even because people don't like it. There were patches where nobody ever answered, and like then it's kind of my role also, like to nicely ping for, yes, is my patch around, like could you look at it, and sometimes I do it when I really care, but sometimes myself, like I have a lot more high priority stuff, and that's life, and then I just forget about it. Say, maybe at some point I will get back to this, and I just forget myself, and I think there's also like a lot of this which for like newcomers, they need also to get the vibe of this. Is like it's not end of the world, not to have a patch accepted, and basically I think it's when they have something they really want, they can discuss it, and even if people disagree with them, then nicely, it's the important nicely, it's to try to convince the others. Like for instance, as a maintainer, I have, like for instance in Gimp, I have the role like to be the one saying, that doesn't look right, for instance, and doesn't actually mean that it's wrong. It may mean that people will need to convince me, for instance, and I do the same when I go to. I still do regularly. I go to other trackers, and I have a patch, and I'm told, I know it's not good or something, or we don't want this feature, and I have to convince them, and it's and that's I think my advice to people who want to just contribute to Gimp, just do it, and actually we don't bite, so we are quite welcoming. Sometimes we may not answer immediately, but that's also like they can ping nicely, and they can, and everything we can discuss and everything, and just do it basically.
just do it is your great advice. I like that.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on the most important question that I'm sure you've been asked many, many, many times. Why has Gimp 3 taken so long?
Well, it has taken quite a few years, but there are also a lot of kind of weird way of counting, in my opinion, at least. Like, for instance, I was saying earlier, some people will say like, oh yeah, 30 years to get to Gimp 3. Like basically they count like Gimp 2.0, which was, you said, I think in 2004, right?
Yes.
And so you say like 2004 to 2025 to make one release. But as I say, it's not one release, a lot of happen. And even this, you can, like, some people will say, oh, we first heard about Gimp 3 and everything like 15 years ago or something like that. But like when you actually look at the repository as a branch, a Gimp 3 branch, I think it's but it's around there. I may say something stupid, but I think it was around 2012 that it started to branch out. So which means about the time when Gimp 2.8 was released. And actually, and when you count the number of commits, basically, I'm not going to give a number because I will probably wrong, but it's very few commits. Comparatively to what happened after, between like basically this time and 2018, when we really started to work on Gimp 3 after 2.10 release. So like they were like basically, it was like they were basically at this point, it was the state I was talking about, where the GIMP will build with GTK3, basically. So the work before 2010 was just well, I mean, not 10 commits, but like I don't remember, but like a few dozen or whatever, like to make the code work on Gimp or GTK3. But actually, the real work, really, the bigger part of the work was 2018. So it's still a lot of years, 2018 to 2025, but it's not like some people will say like it took like 15 years or 20 years
Sure.
or whatever. So and then so still why 2018 to 2025. Well, it's a lot of work, and basically, and we wanted like there were a few blockers when we had like basically when we had like warnings, like thousands of warnings. I mean, for us, it was not acceptable. Some people will say like, "Hey, it works." You have a GTK3 build. Like, of course, people don't see the warnings because they don't compile, right? But like for us, we wanted like to not release with all the warnings. So that's why like some of the stuff like the GTK action, Gimp action call, like which took like a few months of work and everything, and that kind of stuff which nobody was actually working on really. Basically, nobody wanted to work on this, right? So most of us were doing other stuff, basically for Gimp. But I mean, like we're implementing nice features and like cool stuff. And then somebody say, yeah, but then we still need to do this, and then we do this, and then after we do something else, and so yeah, and like okay, yeah, there was also this the API. API was so it's not something very visible to like the end user, but it's very important. Gimp has so it's kind of a platform also because we have plugins and everything, and so we have an API, libgimp, and it and we actually we are quite strict about our API to be stable. So like basically it means once a plugin made in Gimp 3.0 made for Gimp 3.0 has been made, it should still work for like 3.25, 26. So basically, right? There may be deprecations going on. So when there will be a deprecation, they will build it for Gimp 3.26. It maybe have a bunch of deprecated warnings, but it will still build and it will still work. So this kind of stuff. So it means that, and since we changed quite a lot of stuff, Gimp 3 API is not compatible with Gimp 2. We wanted to get it right, basically, because we broke everything already. We don't want to break stuff again. If possible, maybe Gimp 4 can be still compatible with Gimp 3. I mean the API, if we did it right. So yeah, that's something which really wanted to. We wanted to. That took a lot of time. That's not as visible. Nobody, I mean, except plugin developers, nobody sees this, but it's, yeah, that's the kind of stuff where I spent many hours, like just checking every function and thinking, is it the best way, or is it the best logic and everything, and maybe should I rename it somewhere, something else, or of course, not only this, there are problems we knew about, and then we needed to fix them in the API. Yeah, a lot of this kind of stuff.
So, as for stuff that's more visible to the user, were things like the space invasion work and non-destructive editing and the improvements to multi-layer selection, things like that, was that always the intention to bring that along with the first release of Gimp 3, or is that something that got added into the plan later on?
So, space invasion, yes.
For anyone who's not aware of what space invasion is, sorry, I've been using that term. For anyone who doesn't know what that actually means, can you just do a brief explanation for
what actually space invasion? I can explain a bit what it is, but it's actually something which probably not visible. I mean, it's very visible to people who care,
Sure.
but it's not visible to most people, the ones who just want to do like quick edits. Basically, space invasion is like to be able to work with unicolor spaces and everything, and like for and do it right, correct mathematics, basically, and so it started like it actually started maybe like 2010, or I mean like many years ago, and like actually it was added in bits in every version of Gimp, so it's like continuous effort. It's not Gimp 3 has space invasions. They were also in Gimp 8 to 8 and Gimp to 10, and in every small micro release, maybe they were like fixed about basically color correctness. And so this one was always planned, but it's kind of like basically long-term stuff. It's adding CMYK as a core image format here I mentioned in the not just for export, but like an image format which you can work with in Gimp will be part of space invasion. So it's not in Gimp 3, but when we will add this, that's kind of stuff which we consider part of space invasion. So non-destructive effects. No, that was planned for 3.2. Actually, that was the whole stuff. Like there was a whole, like 3.0 is about GTK 3 and 3.2 is about layer effects, basically.
Right.
So and we had this contributor, one of the main contributors now. So it goes, or they go by many nicknames. Is like CMYK student.
I didn't know it was their work. Okay.
Yeah, CMYK student, or like Nick CBC on IRC, and Alex AC, same person. So so this person did a lot of very cool stuff, and one of them was on Google Summer of Code. They work on completing the UI part of Fourier effects. So it was not perfect, since we are still like fixing stuff, but it's also work in progress. And like at some point we thought that it was kind of good enough to be like, oh yeah, like we could like kind of stick to the plan and go for 3.2, or we could just say like it's just too cool to just like kind of delay this just because it was a plan made by some guys 10 years ago.
Right.
Basically. So we merged it, and now since then we still to this day, like I was just this morning looking at some code. We are fixing stuff around this because a lot of basically it's a lot of assumption in code that all, because the code was already there. It's all the Gaggle engine. The UI was not there, and but like until now, basically the code was like you made an effect, and it was already a node about our layer, and but the assumption was that it was going to be merged, right? Or whatever you do, either you cancel your effect or you merge it, and then it's inside the layer. But then this assumption is not right anymore. So like that's why now we have a bunch of places where like clearly we didn't think about this here, because of course there was not supposed to be a layer effect node above this, and so yeah, this was not planned, but it's just it's just how things go, and I think it's kind of good illustration of what I was saying earlier about like just do it, and like and it's also again an administration of the community side, because we do plans, because it's also for us. Plans is mostly for us actually. It's because it helps us to organize,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But our plans are not like rocks.
Right.
They are that's that kind of stuff is like company way of doing stuff, because they have like thousands of people, and the organization needs to be maybe a bit stricter. Basically, you cannot just, not everybody can like just do random stuff, or maybe actually maybe I don't see why. Maybe in companies it could also be more flexible, I guess. But for us, we're just a bunch of people and everything, and like our roadmaps, for instance, they basically just reflect what currently active developers are interested in. They are not like actually like promise or real, and basically a lot of items in the roadmap could like either disappear tomorrow if like a contributor wanted to work on this disappear, or like new roadmap items can appear, basically. And that's what happened for the non-destructive editing, because this contributor wanted to work on this, made a JSON project on this, and it was a success. So I just changed plans basically, and that's how things go. It's flexible development.
I've been using GIMP 3 since I think around RC1. So it's been a while at this point. And as someone who used it a lot, all of my thumbnails are made with GIMP. I am so very happy that we have non-destructive editing and the improvements to multi-layers, like where you can actually select more than one layer now and move them around, group them together. Because before, for anyone who's using GIMP 2.10 still, if you want to handle multi-layers, you have to put them into layer groups, and it works, but it's not convenient. Just being able to click things and move them around like you can in a lot of other tools, it makes it so it really does optimize my workflow a lot. And the non-destructive editing is very nice, because now I can very easily reuse things. I don't have to make previously what I would do is I'd make a copy of the layer and then make it invisible, and it worked, right? But it's just extra steps that I never wanted to do. Now if I make a mistake, I can just turn off the effect, or I can change the settings of it. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, like one of the big thing about non-destructive editing. Also, it's based on the Gaggle engine, right? And Gaggle operations, so filters, we'll call them Gaggle operations. They are themselves kind of. Gaggle comes with a whole bunch of default filters, and that's what all the ones we have in Gimp by default. But also we can they can also be considered as plugins of Gaggle. So anyone can also like implement their own filters, and that's one of the huge stuff. Is that I think it's basically we have basically a potentially infinite numbers of filters that people can save in the images. Anyone can create filters for non-destructive usage, and that's I think it's big part of the for me, because there's also one of the things I've been working on kind of on and off, but mostly off lately, but I want to get back to this, is I want to bring back like an extension platform for GIMP. Basically you used to have what we call the GIMP registry, but it died. It was basically a kind of forum where people would just upload the plugin and everything, basically.
Right.
and it died like many years ago because nobody was really caring for it, and so they were spammed and bad stuff or whatever, and probably also if nobody would update the platform, the vulnerabilities and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And but basically, I want to bring this back eventually, and what I want is like when you go in Firefox and you search for plugins and you install in one click, that's and uninstall in one click and update in one click. That's the kind of stuff I want to do for Gimp. And then people will be able to install plugins, install filters, icon themes, brushes. Like people could like make package of their brushes. So and like with instead of like trying like that's the old way. Basically, a lot of stuff in Gimp. There are a lot of stuff very kind of very high quality, and we also have like a bunch of stuff. Sometimes you say, but what's this doing here? Like kind of and I can completely see why it's what it's doing here. It's basically back then like it was like a small project and like everybody was just contributing and accept everything. But nowadays actually like some people say, oh, I get my plugin, get away. I say, oh, like maybe we should think if really like this plugin for a very specific use case is good for like the general use case, and people will have like menus with hundreds of plugins.
Right. Yeah, you get into a problem. You can't ship every single thing, otherwise you run into a UX nightmare. There's just too much to sort through.
Exactly. So, but it doesn't mean that the use case is bad or that the plugin is bad. And that's why I want like this kind of platform. Like I want people to be able to like just say I have this plugin for my fancy use case, and it's not a generic use case, so it doesn't make sense to be shipped with Gimp, core Gimp, but it doesn't really make sense for people to be able to upload it,
right.
And for other people to be able to search for it and install it in one click, and yeah, this kind of stuff, and with some community review of code, like to avoid, of course, as much as possible, like bad actors, and yeah, that's when that's something I've been planning for years, and I will get back to finish this soon, I hope. And as for like you were talking earlier about the multi-selection, that's something which so the artist I work with, Ariam, that's something. So she's also a contributor, right? And so she has been getting since 2012 also to like Gimp meeting and everything, and she will like several times she will say, oh, I need to have like multi sessions. Like she was like, nagging people, especially my comment now, Mitch, and I like this, like, and at some point, I said, okay, let's do something about this, and I think it took me like 6 months of work, because it's actually similar to like non-destructive editing. Like it's basically code. The whole code is expected one layer selected at one point. So everywhere where there will like be this kind of basically anything about layers, we had to have like the add code about. So what happens when there are like several layers selected? What do we want to do? We want like, so it can be forbid this, forbid can be like a proper answer, forbid the feature. Or it can be, well, if you have several layers selected, we say like, then we can do this. Or like, but basically, whatever the answer is, it needs to be adapted in code. So that's why it took so many months, like 6 months, I think. And like I think in 6 months I did like, yeah, no, it took me 6 months, but actually I had even like tried this in the past few years a few times, and I think I had like thrown away at least 2 or 3 attempts of implementing this correctly. and the last one was the right one, and it took me like many months, but I finally got it, and it's like, and yeah, I think it's a game changer. Like some people will say, like I know sometimes I see some people will say like, oh, it's basic and everything, and it's true, but the point that I think basically, if from the start multi-selection had been allowed, then it would not have been a big deal, because simply each time you add a new feature, you say, okay, what happens when there's one layer selected? What happens when there's two layers selected? But then there was every past developers will only think about what happens when it's one layer selected.
Right.
And then basically I had to re-implement the whole feature set.
So
with the case of
there was basically like 20 plus years of assuming single layers on everything. So everything that involved layers had to be redone.
Exactly. Not redone.
Oh, not redone, but expanded.
Yeah, expanded. Yeah. So, yes.
You bring up the Gaggle plugins before. That's another thing that I think is really cool. And I've been using things like the inner glow and stuff like that before it was part of Gimp like it is now, back on 2.10 when it was just like a separate set of plugins. And that's another thing that really improved my workflow, because again, you can put a glow around anything by manually doing it, increasing the selection and then doing like a feather. It was not good to do it though. It was really annoying. So just being able to say, okay, I want to glow, I just all of these things, again, it makes it so much easier to work having those plugins. These are basic ones. I'm sure there are a lot more complex things that you could be doing that I personally don't have a use case for, but I'm sure somebody else out there does. And that is why I think that that extension platform idea is a really good idea, because this is what, like, KDE has this with their extensions, GNOME has this with their extensions, and right now getting extensions, it's sort of a matter of finding some random GitHub account or GitLab account, and maybe you'll be able to find it, but there's just no easy way to search for them.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I want to do this. And actually, like I just wrote like last week, I think. I've not finished, but I've already did a good part of it, like some tutorials for the Gimp 3 API for plugins, but also for making Gaggle filters. And I do hope that.
Oh, did we lose him? Did I disconnect? What happened here? What? Oh, we lost him. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I don't know. One of us disconnected there. I'm not sure what happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I was saying,
Extensions.
So, yeah, extensions, and I was saying, like, I just wrote, I started writing, and I did good part of it, like tutorials for people, for the Gimp v3 API for plugins, but also a tutorial for like making Gaggle filters. And I that's something I want to promote, because actually it's quite, I mean, Gaggle filters, it's C only, so it can be a bit more involved than plugins, which can be in C but can also be in Python or other languages. But it's not very difficult for someone who a bit technical who wants to dive in, and like you can make a lot of fancy stuff with filters when people have ideas, and so I do hope that a lot of people will jump on this train and will implement filters. And when I have we have this extension platform up, yeah, I do hope to see a lot of very interesting stuff being uploaded there, and I do think it's really the future, like to have like basically a very active third-party developers ecosystem rather than having. I mean, it's important, of course, that we have a lot of developers within Gimp and Giggle and everything, but I do believe that it's also important that there's like this whole ecosystem. Yeah.
I think one of the problems previously with extensions is for users trying to install them, it was you kind of had to work out where things went yourself. But one of the things I noticed in the roadmap ages ago is this idea of these gex files, and so I guess that the idea there was like a universal format for doing these extensions, just so they're easier to install.
Yeah, it's also gex file is part of the extension platform. It's a format. Basically, it's actually it's already implemented. It's just hidden because we don't have the platform. So you can actually already right now with the Gimp 3 you could, if you have a gex file, you can actually drag and drop on it, and it can install the extension already. But my idea is like I don't even want just this. That's for like more like the plugin developer side. They will make the gex file, but they will upload it. But for the users, I don't even want them to have a file to handle. I want them to click a button to search. I want a fancy filter for making a metal or like a texture or whatever, and they say like metal texture filters, and like they get a list of stuff, and like they can look at descriptions, screenshots. This one looks nice, and click, and then it installs, and then you can test the filter, and it's what they wanted or not, and that's kind of stuff I want.
So you'd like to have a plugin store like built into Gimp, so you could see like like Unity and things like that have where you can just browse all the plugins that are available and just say I want that one, just click install.
Exactly. That's what I want. And like then it can also handle versions, like then when they update like the filter or the plugin or whatever, then you could also have the updated one in your Gimp, and like so basically not exactly what you were saying, not have to deal yourself with files.
Right.
Like where do I put it, and also like it has to like very common stuff is that especially with Python script or whatever, it's like they put it and it doesn't work because it also have to be executable.
Yeah. Okay.
So right, I must also shmod like okay. So this kind of stuff, like that's the kind of stuff which we don't think is like the best UX, right?
I agree.
So yeah, it's just like really like Firefox or this kind of stuff. Like you search, you try keywords, and the gex file is part of it, but for most people they will never see it, even if it's basically they will download the gex file, but Gimp will download it, Gimp will install it, and the gex file is basically a container. A container with a metadata file, basically. So the container is basically a zip, and inside this metadata file, which gives a plugin or filter, whatever name and description and the author name, and of course it will say, what am I? So I'm a filter. Filter, it's in this folder, or I'm a plugin, and I'm a set of brushes. So it's the gex format is a container over the various type of data we currently have in Gimp. So
awesome. Well, that makes it like as I said, it makes it a lot easier for that. I'm very curious to see what comes out of this platform, and obviously, it's still going to be a while until there is a sort of development community around these plugins, but I think by providing those tools and providing good documentation on how to use them, Gimp is a great tool, and I think there's a lot of things people would like to do with it. It's just there wasn't really that environment there to allow for that to really happen for those plugin developers.
But actually, they are quite a bit, but you have to look for them.
Sure, yeah, that's the problem.
As you were saying, like it's the annoying thing that like you're saying, like you have to go to some GitLab repository hidden somewhere,
Yeah.
and like also have to like there's a whole question of do you trust this guy
Right.
or this person like because so that's one of the big also challenge of this project because I want also like to I hope we will have also like a community on the like admin side, moderator side, because without this it won't work. So basically, while like brushes like data sets like this will be like can be uploaded directly. Anything which is executable code will have to go through review. And so we hope I mean, I have already a few people in mind in our community who would do great plugin, and I do hope they will accept to be like given some moderator rights and help us to review stuff so that's one of the big challenges because if we have a lot of plugin developers but no moderators, then it doesn't mean anything because no plugin will go up. So yeah, that's something. But that's been a long many years project, and like actually a lot of on game side a bunch of a lot of it is mostly implemented as a proof of concept. Like I even actually have already some small dialogue where you can see your extensions, activate them, deactivate them. And that's one of the fun stuff. Also, when you have extension, you can also not only install, update, or uninstall, but you can also deactivate them. So you can keep some extensions, but just deactivate them to not have them in the UI, and so have a smaller UI. And so technically, a lot of it is quite easy. Yeah, and a lot of it is already implemented too. The hard part will be like to get the whole ecosystem really going on and like following and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
One of the problems that has kind of existed with plugins with Gimp is because the Gimp 2 branch has been around for so long, Python 2 and distros dropping Python 2 like many years ago now. So that aspect of plugin development basically couldn't have been done for a very long time on Gimp 2.
Which aspect?
Because of Python 2.
So, well, yeah. Some people could still have done. I mean, Python to scripts, but yeah. Manuel, Python 2 is like. We wished we had dropped it earlier, but it came with basically the change came with Gimp 3, so it's not. We didn't have because basically we have Python 3, Python 2 actually in support in the whole Gimp 2 series is just like Scriptful, which is like manually made wrapper binding. Manually made binding, right? In Gimp 3, we use G-object introspection, which is a project basically automatically processing libraries with annotations and everything, and creating bindings. Okay. So it's a lot less work. It was work to implement this. But now that it's done, we don't have any basically manual part in the Python binding. So it's all done automatically. So that's good. And like, so yeah, the Python 2 binding before was very different. It was all manual stuff, and actually it was kind of unmaintained for many years. So they're like bugs because the person who, the contributor who mostly implemented it was not around lately while it happened, it's life. But that means that there were a lot of bugs, like, oh, there's this or this, and like they'll report, but they're just laying around because nobody wants to, was interested into really looking at that code. So I'm very happy with JavaScript introspection and not having to look at any manual code, like just all automatic generated. Yeah, so that's also why it was just not like we could not like back. I mean, maybe we could, but it would have been a big project. But backport the Python 3 binding into, they are very different systems. That's why it would have been a huge project to backport. Yeah, support of Python 3.
So one of the big changes that came, or that's coming with Python 3, is now it's, because it's moved to GTK 3, native Wayland support in Gimp.
Yeah, but that what was the relationship with Python 3?
Sorry?
You said there was a relationship with Python 3?
Did I misspeak there? Sorry, I might have misspoke, sorry.
Okay, no, or maybe I misunderstood.
I said GTK.
Anyway, yeah,
I thought I said GTK 3. Maybe I misspoke.
No, you said GTK 3, but you started with Python 3 and okay, well, sorry. Yeah,
sorry.
So yeah, but it is yeah, it's with GTK 3. Yeah, we have well-on support. So that's great because yeah, we didn't have it, and well, we still have a lot of issues, and I mean regular issues. Like, so actually we asked just before the RC3 for GTK 3 release, which they nicely did. And just today, I think I made a report asking if they could make a new one, because we already have like two nasty bugs in GTK 3, which got fixed, and it would be nice to have a release. Well, one was I think all platforms, but one was specific to Wayland again, and I think it was like pointer grabs issues, or some people will say that even sometimes like the pointer will be wrongly grabbed, so they have to kill Gimp basically, and yeah, so it's still Wayland is still very much work in progress, and I'm guessing even when we will release Gimp 3, people will have more issues with Gimp on Wayland than they will have with Gimp on X11. But it's there, and it's very cool because, well, whether we want it or not, it's clearly what ecosystem is going towards. Right. So well, people may like or not Wayland because there's a lot of drama around it. Well, yeah, that's. I mean, we also have a lot of grief sometimes with some of the choices, but well, that's the game. That's people. It's going in this direction, so we just have to implement things, and if something doesn't go as we want it, we try to discuss to make it go as we want.
Yeah, I've been using Gimp 3 on Wayland basically the entire time I've been using it, and at least from my experience, I haven't noticed anything that seems odd, but you make a good point there. As soon as you start having more people trying it out, once you once you actually say this is the stable release, that's when you're going to get people really trying it. And there's going to be people with weird hardware configurations or doing just weird things in their system, finding bugs that nobody uses. That's sort of always the problem. You can only test so many things, and you can only test things that you have. So the second someone tries something weird, who knows what's going to happen.
Actually, there's one very, very easy way if you want to really kill your nice Gimp experience in Wayland.
Okay.
It's go multi-window mode. And, and
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, okay.
and save your config folder when you before you do this, because like this basically we have this whole code about saving Windows position and everything,
Aha.
but Wayland doesn't allow this.
Mm-hmm.
So they are working on protocols for this. They are like at least one, but I think there were several reports when you got
There's
closed and
three of
everything.
them. There's three protocols at least. At least last time I checked.
Yeah, and they like discussions and people fighting and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what they will choose, but at least for now, like the point is that GTK gives us bogus data, basically bogus positions or whatever.
Oh.
Right? So basically, a very simple stuff you can do is that you go to multi-window mode, and you go and you put your windows how you want, right? And you go back to single window mode, and all the dockables will be on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And no way, like because I have not checked the code, but I'm pretty sure that without checking, I'm pretty sure that it's probably because our code must get position 0 for every Windows, basically.
Yeah.
That's my guess, because since I know that Wayland doesn't support for the whole positioning and everything. That's the kind of stuff where they will, and now a single window mode is probably more used, I guess. I don't know, but I know there are still various users of multi-window mode, and which is actually something which I want to work on someday, because I don't want two modes. I want one mode which can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, right now, if you want two images side by side, you have to go in multi-window mode. But I want to be able to drag the tab of an image into its own window, right? Like you do for your browser, you can drag a tab and have two windows, right?
I would like that. Yes, okay, I agree with you. That would be very useful.
So I want basically like this no silly one single window mode, multi-window mode. I just want one normal mode, and you can grab the cables out, in, image out, in, and that's it, basically. That's one of my future plans. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff which in Wayland right now are prevented. They are actually the whole positioning and size stuff. It got a lot better, but I still have some times where like you do some stuff and like the window can grow a little bigger than your screen. I had like a few issues like that, I think, when I don't remember, but like, and but it's still a lot better, because like 1 or 2 years ago, like Gimp was like kind of really broken on Wayland, and it just got fixed by itself. So we didn't change anything in our code. It just got fixed in either GTK side or the various Wayland compositors, or so things are still issues still happen a bit.
Yeah, the window placement thing, I followed that protocol from the very start. I don't understand why there are people that don't want it. It's one of those things where I get why they think that it's a bad idea, and most applications do operate in a single window mode, but it's a thing you can do on Windows. It's a thing you can do on X11. I assume you can do it on Mac. I don't know. I haven't done much Mac development. Why does Wayland need to be the one thing where you don't have this very standard feature?
Yeah, also like even if you work in single window mode, there's like at least one use case which is not edge use case, where you have even like in single window mode you have to have several windows, is when you work with multiple monitors. Because you spread, if you want to spread Gimp on multiple monitors, well, it means at least two windows, right?
Yeah.
So that's like typically when and people like organize the desktop how well they want, and and look, the points are clearly where when you restart Gimp, when you organize your Gimp, you want it to get back the same way.
That would be
right?
nice, yes.
So which right now won't work on Wayland, and yeah, and I think it's kind of I don't know why they will refuse this, and I'm guessing they will eventually agree to something.
Hopefully.
We'll see what shape it will take, but it may take some time and a lot of back and forth and a lot of discussions and yeah, it is a bit tiring. I try sometimes to like get into some of this discussion, but there are so many people and like so sometimes so many like so much conflict. Also, it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not really into conflicts. So I mean, some people really strive into conflicts.
I've seen a lot of them. There's a lot of people that really enjoy the arguments.
Yeah, but me, it's just exhausting me. So yeah, like I've said a few stuff in the color management report at some point, and then I didn't follow much, and I think it got meshed, right?
Yes, color management did emerge. Yes.
Yeah, so that's good, because that was also one of the big issue for software like us.
I think the difference between that one and window positioning is with color management, everyone agreed it's a good idea. It's just they had disagreements about how. With window positioning, there's a lot of people who don't want it at all. So at least if you can agree that we want it, you can argue about the implementation. And that's the important part. If you want to argue about the implementation, progress is being made. But if you have people that are just blocking it at the start, you know, there's...
Yeah. But actually, color management was like not that all everybody. I mean, globally, of course, people want color management.
Sure.
But they were like also like a lot of discussion with like sometimes like they were part of Python. I'm not sure. So I've not followed too much lately, but there was this part where like basically they were not interested into implementing the calibration part, characterization part in the protocol. So basically, the whole color management protocol is only about once you calibrated your display, then you can have the right colors. But then the question is, but how do I go to Windows?
Right.
Do I go on X11? Then I make my ICC profile, and then I can go back to Wayland, and then I can use it. So like, and so at some point they say that they wanted to like they say, oh, maybe it should be a portal. But I think I read something not too long ago about and saying that maybe after all, maybe it can be a protocol about characterization of display. Because basically the characterization has this whole concept, which is like, well, you have to bypass any color management, basically. Because it's you know you have this engine this on your screen, and then you want your screen to get like just like the lights on, and no color management involvement, right? Because you want to have the raw light to compute. So there was this whole stuff, but so I don't know how it will go, and I should look at it eventually. And I wonder if now, because even if it's been merged, if this part, the first part, actually, it's not even the second part, if the first part doesn't exist yet, it means, okay, now you can have color management, but you still need to characterize your display, but you cannot do it with one. Which is a bit silly. So yeah, but yeah, things go forward, but it does take time.
Sure, yeah. So maybe this is a big thing for some people, but I don't know. With Gimp 3, there was the redesign of Wilbur, which I'm sure there was a lot of discussion about exactly how it was going to be changed, how much to change it, whether to even continue with Wilbur or do something else entirely. How did that process go? Because I like the new Wilbur design. I did like the old one as well, but the new one is certainly it's a nice change.
So, well, the process was well, kind of very fluid because it's not really like a corporate process. Again,
Right.
It's more like well, at some point, like many years ago, we said like, oh, maybe we should have a new logo. And an updated one. And like at some point, Ariom, so the artist, always same artist, she decided to work on it. So, but she wanted to work with to get as much feedback as possible as all the other core contributors. So one of the big part in it was during the Wilbur Week in 2001. What was it? I think.
Wilbur Week. Let's see.
Wilbur Week is one of our events where we invite all the contributors.
Okay.
And then so this time was a Wilbur Week, and we did it at Blender Foundation.
Is that 2023? There's a
yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, there's a blog post here, and there's a picture of the Blender headquarters, so I assume this is the one.
Yeah. So that's it. We Blender Foundation lent us a room to do our Hackfest, basically, and so we stayed for a week, and so for this, like for the whole week, Ayam will sit down with the few contributors interested. And she'll get feedback, and she drew like I don't know how many dozens of Wilburs, and actually after this, she took a bit of rest, but like after this, she looked at again all the Wilburs, and she didn't like what she did, so she redid again, and but still taking into account the various feedbacks, because like we have in the community a lot of people with a lot of experience in various stuff like experience in printing and experience in colors also and everything. And so we had one idea. So one of them said also like still like that. Let's still be careful about committee like based decisions basically.
Like design by
Basically,
committee.
like, oh yeah, or design by that's design by committee.
Yeah.
Like basically, like so it was like so she took everybody's feedback, but she also like kind of put her own design and everything in this for it to not look boring. Because I think what she did at some point, she said, "Oh, maybe it's a bit boring," and like and that the idea was really like to have some recognizability of the character, or to have something modern. But like we can't say, and actually it works because we were showing at LibGraphics meeting. Was it the last? Yeah, I think that was the last, to some other designer, Wilbur, and at first she didn't realize it was a new Wilbur. And then we compared, yeah, all right. So actually that worked well, because even though they're quite different, like they say Wilbur is still Wilbur, and if they don't think too much about it and everything, they don't really necessarily realize it's a new design, which was exactly the intended effect. So it was like it was like very, it's again one contributor working on the stuff, and like, and that's what we want. We don't really want to like to make it like a corporate logic or whatever, or with meeting. Like she did meetings, but she wanted it, and but like more like in a friendly way, and not like yeah, we need to have to hire like a design company, like some project do this. It's their stuff, but we're not interested into this kind of. Yeah, it's just Gimp is basically what the contributors make of it. It's really like the community makes it. It's really that's the whole point for me.
Yeah, when I found out there was a new Wilbur, someone had sent me the new Wilbur basically as soon as it got merged into the project, and I'm very happy that you guys went with a very similar design, because I could imagine, you know, there's probably some people who would have been interested in doing some, you know, very, you know, you've seen plenty of modern abstract logos, and you know, if that's the vibe you want to go for, that's cool. But I'm happy that you guys kept the sort of tradition going. It's a much more modern design, but it's still recognizably Wilbur. You still know how you got from that original logo to where you are now.
Yeah, but that was, I know Liam always said it was very important to her, and it's like also like there are a lot of people who tell us or just drop Wilbur, like, oh, how do you have a mascot? Is it like a kids software or something like that? But it's like, yeah, we like it. It's fun, but it's like, again, like we don't care. I mean, it doesn't actually change the software.
Right.
And we don't care if some people will, I don't know, some people are just against fun.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so yeah, we wanted to keep the fun stuff. So our mascot, we got used to it, and we enjoy it. It's like now it's part of the you know, the whole project basically, and like and also Alium was always saying like because we also know that they are like, we have several contributors who have been there for like I think the 97 is a contributor who has been there for the longer. So basically not the start, because since I think Gimp is 95, but then it was only the two authors. So for them, there are a lot of things which are very important because it was like a huge part of their life, you know. So what we don't want is like to come and just like kind of everything is trash and like just let's start from let's go from scratch and like all the old people like just leave us alone and
Right, right.
go to retirement please. No, it's not one like this, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, like really, and for like all the current contributors, uh, it's important and to you know to keep it like a friendly community and like and I know Adam was always saying like if someone doesn't uh, uh, like some kind this kind of changes we must discuss and everything and like she really wanted to have the feedback and to know yeah to how to do something which people still appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So sorry, go on.
No, no. As I said, I'm very happy that this is the direction that you guys took it. Um, One thing that I did want to bring up, I completely forgot about it before. When you're talking about how long it's taken Gimp, I think part of the thing that has made it feel like it's taken such a long time, especially for people on the outside, is there have been a number of predictions for when things will be ready. Because I know the latest one was, what was it? There was a Libre art thing last year where that
Yeah.
was assumed to be when the release was going to be.
Yeah, we kind of I mean that's on me. I mean okay, that's one of the things which I kind of when we don't say anything
Mm,
like people think the project is dead or
sure,
everything.
sure.
So I'm like I was saying earlier that plans and everything usually they are mostly for us,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and but I try to kind of be more transparent and
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
say, oh, we hope we try to plan for this, and
Right, right, right.
we did, but then we realized there's a lot of stuff which are not ready, and and it's not just Gimp. I mean, I've worked in many, not many, but I several companies before, and it's just like software development. You know, like I'm not sure if like many software developers can say that they whole life they never had any delay in the planning for a project. You know, right? Like I think every project I've worked on in a company they had like months delay and often sometimes they're like 6 months delay and then suddenly some manager kills the project. I've had this kind of stuff. You know, like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean it's just software development. So when actually, no, I don't want to give dates anymore because each time I did, like people take it as a promise.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I write explicitly, this is not a promise. You know, like I write it, like, but after this, like various media outlets and everything say, oh yeah, they promised it and they broke the promise. You know, like how dare they? You know, but it's like so. Then I'm like, okay, so should I kind of tell people a bit about how we work, or
Mm-hmm.
should I just keep it for myself?
Mm.
But then they will complain that we are not transparent, and or that the project is dead, or that it's. So yeah, that's the previous plans was a real plan, and we were hoping that it could happen, but then it just software development.
Yeah, yeah.
That's basically it. You know.
This is the problem the guys over at System 76 have recently run into as well with the Cosmic Desktop. Carl, the CEO over there, said that the beta would be out now. We're in Alpha 6. The beta's not going to be out for at least another 2 or 3 months. And, then he said there would be 2 releases this year after the beta. I think the good... I see that the point you're making there about letting people know things are happening, but at the end of the day, you have two options. You either have it's done when it's done, or the way a lot of video games do things, which is release it completely unfinished and then deal with it later.
Yeah. Well, our project is definitely is done when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when actually it's more when I was giving days. It's more like when I think more like trying to for ourselves first, also
Sure, sure.
like trying to give us like some kind of deadline to look forward to, and
Mm-hmm.
like to say, oh, let's try to do this. Also, like it was like an organization was trying to explain a bit how we work, what we hope, what we it's. But yeah, but actually now I think I won't do this as much, because I did I did try this like a few times, and I did see if, indeed that a lot of people like took it like we just broke our promise, and and nothing happens. And
Mm-hmm.
I just the other day I was reading some thread in some forum where some people say, "Oh, is Gimp dead? No development is happening," and yeah. So, but yeah, I think yeah, probably I will just from now on just go with it's done when it's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've certainly gotten excited when I hear that a date's coming up where it's supposed to be ready. I've made videos about it in the past. I'm not I'm disappointed obviously that it didn't fully get done, sure, but like I'm not angry at the project. As I've said, I'm using the RC build right now. I'm seeing things progress even though it isn't tagged as, Gimp 3. I think in the state it's in, I'm not going to say for everyone, but for most people, I would say it's pretty good to go and just use the RC. Most things, now that we're in RC3, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most things, obviously you're still getting bug fixes done, but most things are pretty good now. And if you're really excited for Gimp 3 and you want to try it, I can say, at least for me, that the development branch hasn't caused me any problems in at least 6 months. And maybe if you're doing something different than what I do, you might run into some problems. And if you do, hey, you can report some problems. But I can say, as someone who uses it basically every day, it's worked well for me.
Well, that's good. That's actually why we started RCS,
Mm.
because we think we are very close to release. Yeah. I mean, we cannot officially say to people, like we still say like it's still a development version, and so use it at your own risk and
Sure,
everything.
yeah.
But I mean, we us like on so the Mammoth animation project, we have been using development version of Gimp since forever. So it's yeah, it's possible, and it's good that it works well. And actually we are very close to the
Mhm.
final Gimp release now, so very close.
Mhm.
So I think
I'm very
yeah, I
tempted to
think
ask you if you think it's going to be this year, but I don't think you want to say what's going to happen this year.
actually internally we have dates, but actually it's internal, but you can even find it
Mhm.
because it's public. So, but yeah, I won't say it now.
Good plan, good plan. Um,
But
uh,
yeah.
so earlier you talked about GTK 4 and issues with menus, I believe you were saying. So, of course, people are going to ask, hey, GTK 3 is, however old GTK 3 is now. GTK 4 has been out, I want to say at least for 4 or 5 years, something like that. So, there's always those questions of, okay, well, why even bother with going to GTK 3 and why not go to GTK 4 instead?
Well, it's just going directly to GTK4. You mean not from GTK2 to 4 directly? That's what you say, right?
Well, either I guess so, yeah. Like, if you were to do that, I assume the porting process would be different.
Well,
And,
I think it would have been possible, but add 2 years, I think, to the release or something.
right.
That's basically it. So that's it's not. I mean, like people cannot just. It's not going to GTK2 to GTK4 and like thinking it will take the same time. No, it will. I mean, we it took us so long to go to the GTK2 to 3, and even I don't know. Even I've not tried, so I cannot really say for sure anything. But I doubt that it would have been. We would not have. We would have taken the same time basically, or even that it would have been faster or something like. I'm pretty sure that if we had tried to do this, it would just have taken a few more years basically. So and okay, this whole thing also about the GTK, which is like for a lot of technical people, they're all into like, oh, GTK, or I'm looking at my package on my computer, and Gimp is the only one using GTK2. I want to remove this package, like it mattered, right? But like, seriously, go now to like photograph forum, like pixels.us, for instance. Which is like the main free software photography forum community, and like nobody speaks about GTK. They don't care. They don't know what GTK is.
Right.
Like when I try to explain to Ariam what is GTK, and like she understands, but she doesn't really understand, or probably she doesn't care. Actually, people who actually use the software, they don't care about this. Like a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, it's basically the same. When they look at GTK 235, it has kind of modern look, right? But it's what's the whole point? So we know there are some points like Wayland, or we have much better like hot plug we were saying about. So for input devices, and like there are a lot of nice stuff, and but like, okay, there's this kind of stuff, but like there's no like it's like people, they care a lot less about the GTK2 to GTK3 than they care about like non-destructive editing, or being able to select multiple layers basically. So I think like a lot of people like on Linux forums or whatever, they just don't get it, because they probably just use Gimp every once in a while to make a rotation and a crop, and that's it. And for them, what matters is that GTK2 package can go away. That's which is kind of stuff you read, like, oh yeah, Gimp is the only one using GTK2, Python 2 and everything, and yeah, Python 2 and GTK2 are both deployed packages. It's good if we can get rid of them and everything, but at the end of the day, it's not what the one who use Gimp a lot care the most about.
Yeah, I think it's good. Sorry, go on.
No, and as a developer, it's very boring job. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Like, the people actually using it, you could continue using GTK2 until the end of time. If at some point, these features that are coming in GIMP 3, like the non-destructive editing, like the multi-layer selection, if it was decided, hey, we just, you decided to never do GTK 3, and those features were just done in the GTK 2 version, no one would actually care. Like, yeah, the distro packages and the people who are like, that have some sort of programming background would care, but the artists actually using the tool, like, no one actually cares, right? And you think about a tool like Photoshop, no one knows or cares what toolkit that's using. It's probably some internal toolkit. I have no idea. I assume it's an internal toolkit they have at this point, but all that matters is, what does the tool actually do for me? And also, I guess you can argue the UI and UX as well, yes, but the main thing is, can I conveniently do the things that I want to do? That, I think, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, but definitely, so there are still improvements. Like I was saying, like WLAN support. We don't have it to stay too, but maybe like we could have imagined like a smoother improvements where basically, which will be like continuing GTK2, but like GTK3 will break less thing. Actually, even when I was saying that our API for Gimp for plugins, we broke it completely with Gimp 3, right? But like I've experienced so much pain, like trying to port from from GTK2 to GTK3, that at some point I even wondered if it was too late. Same as it's too late for GTK, but so so I see how much pain it is, but plugins is usually they're a lot smaller. So it's small piece of code, like one or two files, or so. But still, I'm thinking like, okay, for Gimp 4, if I can, now my thinking is that if I can, I want to not break the API. So it will be, well, maybe we will remove some functions, so we deprecate them, remove them, but like trying to be as smooth as possible, giving people time and everything, and not completely change logics of stuff. And I think it kind of matters for a platform. And I wished a bit that the GTK project will break a bit less stuff like that they do, like because, well, I not started the GTK4, so I cannot say, but when I looked at the whole part about menus and everything, I said, I just worked on this. I spent so many months, and they're breaking it again. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think. I don't know, but for now, it's a bit scary when I read this part in the port tutorial. And yeah, maybe I think like when you make an API for others to use, like stability should be important.
Right. Now, one thing that I couldn't do this episode without asking you about, because I know someone's going to joke about it, and people like to joke about this. It's, hey, why does Gimp not have a shape tool? I'm sure you've heard plenty of comments about that over the years. It's a reoccurring thing that constantly comes up.
I think at this point it's a meme.
It is a meme, yes.
It's more like a meme, yeah. And well, so it's coming because
I know it's on the roadmap.
Because actually, okay. So the whole thing actually, when that's also one of the big differences when you look. If you look at the forum for techies,
right,
and a forum for like photographers, and like if you like go on some Linux forum, you will have this kind of comments. If you go on like on pixels.us or whatever, like this kind of forums, all the actually people using games, they will answer on our behalf, because they say, but why don't you use Inkscape? Because at the point when we do like when you do when like Gimp is a raster editor, so we care about pixels and everything, and like filters and stuff. So shape is really something. It's more vector stuff. So now it's good to have a bit of mix, and actually we are planning to have vector layers. There's like a branch already with working vector layers. I mean, it needs a lot of work, I'm sure.
Right, for anyone who hasn't worked with vectors with Gimp, right now you import the vector and then it will just raster, like render as a raster for whatever size you want it at.
Yeah. Right now it's, I mean, you can also, there's also the pass tool, so you can also import vectors into pass. But like pass, they don't have colors, they don't have pass. You can use them after this, for instance, to like stroke a pass, but then it becomes also a raster at this point, right?
Right.
So vector layers will be like basically having pass and say, my pass now give me a color, give me a width, and maybe even like other fancy textures or whatever, like on the side, like and then if later it's like non-destructive editing for filters, right? If I want, like if I stroke my pass and later, I think I wanted my like this, then I have to undo or delete or whatever. If I merge it with something else, it's bad, But if it's a vector layer, which you say, it's my pass and my pass has this, and I want to change it a bit, I just move one point, an anchor point, and the render changes. So that's something which is worked on. We have a branch about this, which is actually like a branch based on code, which was started at GSOC from before my time. So like from 10, 15 years ago, and 15 or something. I don't know, but from like one of the earliest, because actually Gimp didn't participate to GSOC for like Google Summer of Code for like for many years, and we only started again like three years ago, I think. And so it's again CMYK students who and before him Jacob started to work on this branch, all very old branch, and after CMYK student also took over. And so we have something kind of already working, even though it needs a lot more work. So when we will have this, we'll have vector layers, and then it will make sense to have a shape tool, which will create basically vector data. Because right now, really, making a shape tool which makes like a circle in raster, I mean that's crappy. Like you have a circle and then and then it's like merged into your pixels, and it's then you want to change your circle. You cannot like when do you want shapes? When you want shapes, maybe you make rectangles to hide something, or you want to design stuff above an image, or this kind of, and then you want to move to tweak. It's the kind of stuff you do with Inkscape, which is also a great software. So, and Gimp is not becoming a vector software. We'll have a bit of vector, but when people will want to do very complicated vector stuff, we'll say, still go to Inkscape. We have a bit because it helps people, because everybody wants to do once in a while a bit of mix of concepts. Same as Inkscape also has some raster capabilities. And so that's it. The shape tool is I mean, and seriously, the same question goes on like the illustration or photography forum and everything. You look everybody's answers basically say, you're just using the wrong tool, man. If you ask this, that's about it. So it's again like some Linux forum or whatever. That for them it's a good troll to make. That's
right. Okay, so I guess the thing we can end off on is, if you had infinite time, infinite resources, and there was something you could add to Gimp that isn't in it right now, what would you like to add? Preferably something that we've not talked about already.
It has to be one thing?
Yeah, you can talk about, if you want to say multiple things, go right ahead.
Well, there are a lot of, actually, a lot of stuff which are put in the roadmap. I want them. But since we do animation, there is something which I've worked a lot on, is animation tools in Gimp code. And actually I have code for this and so on. So, and I would like to finish this. That's again some kind of code which I've had, like, I started with doing plugins. I had at least 2 or 3 plugins which I threw away, which we used for times, and I threw them away. And like at some point also made some code. but I'm not completely happy with my stuff, and yet I'm kind of a perfectionist also. So that's definitely something. If we could have very cool animation tool finished soon, I will love it. I'm working on it, and if we had a lot of resources to do this, I will love it. And actually, this also comes with. That's also one of the points where we want to update our file format, XCF. And for me, I think it's a really important part because I want a format where we can load more easily piece only of the image. Because if your image, which is not an image, it's more a project. If your project is like animated sequence, you probably don't want to load the whole file into memory at once. Because well, it's hundreds of no, not hundreds, thousands of image, and then you kill your memory, right?
Right.
So and right now our format is not really adapted. I tried to make some code already where to load only parts of the image at one point and everything, and it's possible. But I think at some point we want to have a better format. And there were a lot of projects also, like a lot of discussion about which could be done together about the format where we could store directly Gaggle buffers. So that will make not only like saving, loading and saving a lot faster, but like even saving, like we could have near instant saving, and like they will because if we basically right now we have to save the whole thing at once,
right?
But if we have like a format more like basically a package of several files, and the layers are directly Gaggle buffers in its raw format. So for instance, it's much faster to load because it's a raw format of Gaggle, which has support for saving on disk. But also we could save parts, like you just edited a layer, you select another layer, so you could just quickly save this one layer. You just right. So you could like very quickly like have a constant saving system basically. Because right now the main problem with the constant saving, why we cannot implement this, is that many people, they don't see this, but people who make a huge work with Gimp, they have like hundreds of layers, and they hit Control S and it takes 20 seconds.
Right.
So you cannot like have like you are painting something and suddenly like it's saved by itself, and then you get everything, you get stuck, right? So that's why right now we cannot have this kind of stuff in coding. But if we had something where the save could be like incremental and very fast and everything, then we could have constant saving. Like you work on one layer, the other one is saving this during this time and everything. So yeah, having a new format will improve a lot of things like this for animation too. For like animation means also we could also have multi-page, like you have a few formats with multi-page concepts. So animation is like multi-frame, but then there's also a multi-page concept, like. And right now, what we do is like we consider the page with as layers. We say, okay, let's say that every layer is one page, and then you can export as PDF or something like that. And we could have a real concept of this, and that's a whole kind of stuff which I've been thinking a lot about, and yeah. There's another stuff which is kind of close also is a macro system. Because so actually with Gimp 3 already we improved a lot the API, and one of the things which did is we have now like automatic concept of like saving the so like a plugin is like it's also like a procedure, a function basically. For Gimp calls this procedure, and when you call it interactively, you call it with basically default arguments or last use arguments and stuff like that. So when you notice when you call a plugin, usually now it has the last argument you used are already saved. And so now I basically, and how we generate UI now for plugins, we have this infrastructure. So the UI, when people like edit stuff and automatically save the new arguments of your procedure. So it's stored, Gimp stores this, which can, so interactively it means you can reuse it for last use, but also for macros it means that Gimp also knows how to, like every plugin you use, it knows how to reproduce it without showing the dialogue, right? And previously we had already this for the effects. Effects also have this. You can, when you load an effect, you have this small stuff where you can look at the previous time you run it, right? So it's the same. We already this for effect. We have this for now plugins since Gimp 3. And the only thing which is missing now is on canvas tool usage. Basically, we need to store this kind of information. And once we have basically these three main components of what can you do with an image of Gimp, is like do stuff on canvas directly, do plugins or do effects. When we have this all, then it will be like very a piece of cake to implement macros. Just like when you say, "Oh, no, start recording, please," and stop recording, and then it will just have stored everything which you did, and you can redo it and then you can do batch processing and whatever within Gimp directly, like, or just play these macros of these 20 images, or even like you could like, since it's all like kind of programmatic too, you can also like put your macro into a script and then edit your script. So say you want to redo a wall drawing, and then you just multiply all the dimensions by 4, and then it reads the drawing, but non-destructively with the right dimension, without needing to like scale, because scale is destructive. Even if it's scale up or scale down, I mean, scale up, scale down, it will blow. Any scale is destructive, but you can say, oh, like you could like kind of programmatically save your drawing and make it after this redrawn on any size, kind of now like vector. No, it's not vector, but it's it will be like a script basically playing. So that's the kind of stuff also. I have a lot of projects. I also have projects for Aria. Maybe I speak too much. I don't know. But yeah.
No. That sounds very exciting to me. So with my thumbnails, what I do is I do like a grow selection on the text. I put like a black line around it. I put a drop shadow around it, and I rotate it. Just being able to do that in one click. Again, another thing. I would love that. That would be amazing.
So repeat what?
So with
I didn't.
With my thumbnails, what I do is with the text on them, I do a selection on them. On the text, I do a grow on that selection. I then fill in that selection with a color. I put a drop shadow on it, and I rotate all of the text like by a couple of degrees, so it's sort of on an angle in the thumbnail. And having that as a recorded macro, and I can just have that just done without ever having to think about it. Because it's the same on every thumbnail. Being able to do that would be amazing.
But that's exactly what macros are for.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of stuff, like just repetitive tasks, and until now you can already do this, but now you have to write basically a small plugin.
Sure. Yeah.
Basically, but the macros.
I probably should just do that. That would make I probably should just go ahead and write the plugin. I do this so much. I've probably wasted so much time. I could have just learned how to write a plugin by now.
Yeah. So, but for sure, macros is like the easy way to make a plugin. Basically,
the user facing way to do so.
Yeah, exactly. So and actually the macro is like will be like also not only this, but I was saying you could also transform it into code because it's programmatic. So, and after this you could edit your code, which is kind of best of both worlds, basically. So yeah.
Well,
that's it.
I unless there's anything else you wanted to touch on, I think that's a great place to end off the episode. Was there anything that we hadn't talked about that you really wanted to bring up?
No, not really. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe there was this one feature also we are working. I want to improve that export, better export, because there's this whole thing about when you work on something, you do sometimes stuff on export, but you don't want to do them on the your main image. Typically, you may scale or you may even crop stuff, because sometimes you do one single image, but you want to export it differently. And you may want just export them to crop or to scale or to make some filters and everything. And that's also the kind of stuff where I have had plans for a long time, like to basically record some kind of I don't know how you call it, like you say, this image, and you could even like have several export kind of models or whatever. You say, this image, I want to export it like this, and then when you hit export, it will export maybe several images and do the stuff for you without touching the original image. And that's also the kind of big work I want to. I think it will really make life a lot easier for a lot of people. Anyway, so.
Completely unimportant question. I've just spotted it there for a while. Is that a picture of a kiwi on that board back there? Like the yellow sticker? Yeah. Sorry.
That's Mozilla New Zealand.
Ah, okay.
I think it's. Sorry,
it was just it's been in my line of sight for the past 2 hours. I had to ask about it.
Are you in New Zealand?
No, I'm Australia.
Okay. I actually lived in New Zealand for a year. Working holiday visas.
Yep.
You have a lot, I know, in Australia too, in New Zealand, So it was memory from Mozilla New Zealand. I don't know if it's still there, but
well, I think this was a really good episode. I had a lot of fun here. I'm very happy we finally found the time to do this. Just so people know, I think the email thread we have is like 13 emails back and forth, just trying to find out when a date's going to happen, me forgetting to email back and trying to rearrange something. But I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, me too. It was fun.
So if people want to get involved in Gimp, where can they go? What's the best place to go to?
Well, the bug tracker, GitLab, and also if they want to discuss with us directly, it's IRC. It's gimp.org/discuss, I think.
Is all of that available on the GIMP website somewhere?
Yeah, it's gimp.org slash, I think, discuss.html.
Mhm.
gimp.org/discuss.html, and well, they have a bunch of your forums and even a matrix channel and everything.
Mhm.
I do, others also do like answers on the forum and everything also.
Mhm.
But if you really want to get a lot closer, it's IRC the best. Basically, it's on IRC where we are all the time, so you can discuss, and people are very welcome to come and discuss and contribute, and yeah,
Awesome.
that's
Okay, so my main channel is Brody Robertson. I do Linux videos there 6-ish days a week. I've got the gaming channel, Brody on Games. Right now I'm streaming Final Fantasy Origin and End of Magnolia. Also, the React channel, Brody Robertson Reacts. Check that out if you want to see clips there. If you're watching the audio version of this, you can find the video version on YouTube at Tech Over Tea. If you'd like to find the audio version, it's on pretty much every podcast platform. Search Tech Over Tea and you will find it. I'll give you the final word. What do you want to say? How do you want to sign off the episode? I never tell anyone they're doing this, so it's always fun to see what they say.
Oh, okay. I have no idea. Well, it was fun, and well, I kind of like you. Like, if just look at my project is Gimp. Look at gimp.org, and there is also the Mammoth, our movie. So
Hmm. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that, did we? I completely forgot to bring that up.
Yeah, because well, it was an interview about Gimp, but
Yeah, that's fair.
if someday you want to discuss about them, maybe when we finally release this short film, I'd be happy to come back, and we can discuss with the director, with Alium.
Awesome, yeah.
Uh,
I'd love to do that.
yeah, we can discuss like about Libat, and Libat, and working with free software, and she will have a lot of like angry rants against free software. So that's not easy all the time. But yeah, so that's our projects, and in any case, it was a cool interview.
Awesome.